opinion about my career. For quite some time, I've heard it all. I'm running, I'm not running. I assure you, I fully intended to be on the ballot this November. Sometimes the most difficult discussions we need to have are with ourselves. For the past several weeks, I've done a considerable amount of soul searching, and although I generally consider myself a very decisive person, I've been anything but quick to make a decision. I have finally listened to my inner self and to my wonderful and caring family. And this is the right time for me to end my 41-year political career. Those of you who have covered me over the years know that as public a person as I am, I have carefully and adamantly guarded my personal life as much as possible. The exception, of course, being my bragging rights about my 4 grandchildren. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with glaucoma. I've had surgery and have continued to be treated on a regular basis. These past few months, I've forced myself to come to grips with the fact that driving at night is becoming more difficult, particularly in snow, rain, and fog. I needed to think about whether I want to be a nighttime driver, especially in Albany traffic, 2 years from now. The answer became more clear to me as I forced these personal discussions, and the answer is no. Right now, the glaucoma is somewhat stabilized, making this the right time to join Elmer, who has been retired for 15 years, to spend some time traveling without an extremely demanding work schedule and constantly checking dozens of emails. I've enjoyed each of my 3 political careers: county legislator for 10 years, treasurer for 21, and assemblywoman for 10 when I finish this year. Perhaps totaling up 41 years in public service and in politics is reason enough to step aside. It's been an incredible opportunity to meet so many wonderful folks throughout Clinton and Franklin counties, the town of St. Armand in Essex County for 6 years, and 4 towns in St. Lawrence County for the past 4 years. Although there's a certain excitement and aura about Albany, my true passion for this position as the Assemblywoman is the time spent working with thousands of constituents throughout the 3,200 square mile district. The friendships I have made with colleagues on both sides of the aisle in Albany will be great memories which I will carry with me forever. However, it's the spirit and the soul of the residents across this district, the respect and support they have given me, and yes, above all, the irreplaceable and forever friendships I have made with people of all political persuasions that have made these years incredibly special. While I've accomplished a lot and I've helped many, many people, there are still issues I'd like to see settled. The top of that list is to stand shoulder to shoulder with the correction officers to defend those officers who do a very difficult job under tough circumstances and do it well in a professional manner every single day. I hope Inspector General Leahy Scott releases her report soon so we can deal with it and continue rebuilding Clinton strong. I'm sure many people won't understand when I say touring all 5 of the correctional facilities is one of the things I'll miss the most next year. Under different and fun circumstances, I will also miss touring the 19 school districts, meeting with many dedicated administrators and teachers. There is absolutely nothing more fulfilling and inspiring than walking into classrooms and seeing students of all ages engaged. I've also toured many of our large and small employers, and each one has provided me an insight into the economic diversity of our area that most people never have a chance to experience. I don't know where to begin to mention the honors I've received and opportunities I've had. None have been more fulfilling than presenting assembly resolutions to recognize the 21 Corrections Emergency Response Teams, CERT, from across the state, and Troop B State Police Major Chuck Guess and Sergeant Jay Cook in the Assembly Chambers in March. The opportunity to introduce these heroes to my colleagues and see the respect extended to them will forever be a highlight of my career. Yesterday, for the 10th time, we passed a resolution in the Assembly requesting the governor to declare May 12th as Asperger's Syndrome Day. Happy birthday to our grandson Jeremy today. I've relished the many times I've been able to recognize people of all ages for any number of reasons, accomplishments, commencements, senior citizens, veterans, students, teachers, Eagle Scouts, Girl Scouts, firefighters, EMTs, small business owners, people with disabilities, athletes of all ages and all sports, milestones, birthdays, and wedding anniversaries, significant accomplishments by individuals and businesses, and the list goes on. Each citation I've written, every certificate I've signed, every newspaper clipping I've mailed with a personally written note have a special meaning to me. The many thank you notes I've received, although much appreciated, were unnecessary, given the pleasure I've had in presenting them all. I'm sure there would never be a time when I could walk away and feel I've accomplished all I wanted. And I certainly don't feel that way today. There's much left to do. Dealing with the heroin opiate addiction crisis, assuring proper services and funding for our population with developmental disabilities and those with mental illness, continuing efforts to provide an adequately funded public education for pre-K through college, establishing stronger ethics regulations, and the list goes on. Each year, as one issue gets settled, two more get added. In order to assure the selection of a candidate to run, I had to make the decision now. Waiting any longer is simply not an option. I will not allow my name to be placed on a petition without 100% commitment that I can serve for 2 more years. The process of selecting a qualified, dedicated candidate with high ethical standards who will represent us well can now take place, and I expect to be an integral part of the campaign. I believe I set the bar high, and I will work to elect the next assembly member who has the same passion and work ethic as I do to represent the 115th district. I feel I'm leaving at the top of my game, and I'm incredibly proud of the number of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who have asked me to run for re-election. To experience the sincerity of their comments, whether Democrat or Republicans, is humbling and gratifying. And I know I've surely done some things right to have so many great friends in the assembly chambers. I'm equally proud of the multi-party support that continues to be extended to me throughout this district at every event I attend. I'm joined today by my family. My husband Elmer is the one who convinced me to run for county legislator in 1975. Maybe he's had some misgivings since then. He has certainly never wavered in his strength and support. I've been in political office for 41 of the 48 years of our marriage. My son John was 7 years old when I was first elected. He and his wife of 27 years, Michelle, have 2 adult children. Alyssa is a student at Clinton Community College and a full-time employee at Meadowbrook Nursing Home. She and Brandon will be married in September. Jeremy, our birthday guy, is a really, really special young man. My daughter Michelle was less than a year old when I was first elected to the legislature. This past January, as I watched her hold the Bible for her husband Robbie as he took the oath of office for the county legislature, I had a flashback of taking that same oath for that same position 41 years ago. Robbie and Michelle will be married 21 years in a couple of weeks, and they have 2 beautiful teenage daughters. Lacey will be an honors graduate from Peru Central School next month and will be attending Plattsburgh State in the fall. Allie is our gymnast, finishing her freshman year at Peru Central. The entire extended Duprey family has been incredibly supportive all these years, as have my Lacey and Calkins families. My A-team, my consultants, they're the very few people I could count on to be brutally honest when I came up with a really dumb idea, and always supportive when I needed them, which was often. Andy and Jill Abdella, Gary and Kathy DeSalle, Kathy and Brian Karofsky, Tom and Mary Sears. Dr. Merritt Spear, a supporter for all 41 years, and the person who is most directly responsible for encouraging me to run for the Assembly in 2006, convincing me I could end my predecessor's career, and also agreeing to be my campaign manager. Greg Bell has been my campaign treasurer for the past 10 years. He and his wife Janine are great friends. Of all the things I've learned, particularly these past 10 years in the Assembly, is how fortunate I am to have the absolute unconditional love and support of my family and friends. I will be eternally grateful for this experience and the opportunity to represent the best region in the entire state of New York, our North Country. I don't know what the future holds, but I hope I'll be able to continue with some of the unfinished projects that are so critical to all of us as friends and neighbors. One thing I can say with certainty, I will be here in the North Country. There is absolutely nowhere else I want to be. I'm going to finish where I started. Today is the most difficult day I've faced in my 41-year political career. This decision has been a struggle for me, but I am at peace with it. I guarantee I will continue to work as hard as ever to meet the needs of the 115th Assembly District from now through December 31st. I want to thank the members of the media for being here today and for all of your support over these many years. I extend my heartfelt thanks to my family and friends, and to all the people who live in the 115th District and throughout the North Country who have shared this experience with me. I'm happy to take any questions.
Jan, what do you think the top highlight of your career is?
A little bit hard to name just one. I could probably narrow it down to 3. One is certainly, as I said, the introductions of our hometown heroes just a couple months ago. The other is having been a co-sponsor of the autism insurance bill, which provided coverage for thousands and thousands of children and adults who never had it before. And I guess the bill that affected the most lives, and which I feel I was on the right side of history, is the marriage equality bill.
How do you think the district has changed in your 10 years in the Assembly?
Other than becoming more Democrat. Which again, I will say I've been so blessed and so pleased to have the bipartisan support I have and feel I continue to have. I know I continue to have. I think we've grown in certain areas, and in other areas we have, we continue to lose population in the Adirondack Park. The environmentalists continue to stymie us at every corner. They continue to make it more difficult for us to develop businesses and to grow throughout too many of our regions in my district. We certainly have watched our education system struggle, in large part because of the standardized testing and some of the regulations that have gone with that. And I think we're beginning to see our way out of that. And that's one of the things I wish I could see to the end, and that's not going to happen. Those are the things off the top of my head, but I think I look at a bright future. I think that we you know, we're well-based to have further economic development and growth and encourage tourism and, you know, all people have to figure out is what a great part of the country we are, they're gonna come.
Janet, you talked about, you know, the glaucoma and everything being the primary reason for you to retire. When you went through your decision-making, was the culture in Albany and all of these, you know, the culture of corruption and the investigations, did that come as any sort of factor in your decision?
Not really. You know, when I had, and I told a very few of my Democrat colleagues yesterday that I was making this announcement today, and when I had their arms around me and saying, are you sure this is what you really wanna do? There are a lot of good people in Albany, and those are the people that I'm friends with. I think that we'll overcome this dark time, and it certainly is. My biggest concern is that there won't be enough ethics reform quickly enough. And I know that, you know, there's certainly the theory that you can't legislate people to be good. If they're gonna be crooks, they're gonna be crooks, and I don't care what you put on the law books, but we need to do more for ethics reform. Certainly the Assembly has passed some initial reform. We need to do more. But no, that's not one of the reasons I'm leaving. I think that, in fact, as I said in my remarks, I think it's critically important that whoever gets elected to this position, the number one qualification should be a high ethical standard.
And eventually, will you have to have surgery for the glaucoma?
I've had surgery, had a discussion, and I had a follow-up just last week, which kind of escalated some of this, but the follow-up surgery is iffy. And so, you know, it's nothing I'm looking to do in the immediate future. And you know, I can see from here to forever. It's just the nighttime thing that's really gotten difficult, and some of the peripheral vision and the depth perception. And I just don't want to wake up someday and say woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Janet.
And you know I'm 70, so, you know, it all kind of, there's a lot of those pieces that figured in. We want to enjoy our 50th wedding anniversary.
Janet,
Yes,
at a time when Donald Trump is the likely, you know, Republican nominee for president, do you worry that in your absence, someone like Karen Bissell could jump in and pick up some momentum?
I will tell you, one of the reasons I was looking forward to a campaign this year is because I didn't have any right-wing radicals out there talking about a primary. I would have enjoyed a one-on-one, and I just, you know, I don't mind campaigning. I don't mind the all that goes with a campaign, as long as it's respectful. And I was looking forward to that being the case, hopefully, going forward. So I would certainly hope that the committees that will have to make the decision do so wisely. And can I repeat, I think we need people who have high ethical standards.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking at anybody in particular that you hope will run as a Republican to replace you?
I think that once this hits, we'll have some people coming forward. I have spoken with some people in the past. I think there's at least one or two still interested, some who aren't, and I don't wanna put out any names. I think that over the next few days that will become clear. I mean, we're in a time frame now, and I understand that.
Do you hold any significant importance to keeping your seat Republican, or is that not extremely important?
I think it's incredibly important. Good question, because that always comes up, and I should have probably brought it up, but I think that, you know, those of us in the North Country, I don't think anybody will be shocked to find out we think very differently than my friends and colleagues out of New York City. And I think that the North Country, having a Republican down there, most of us across the North Country are Republicans. We work well together. And I work well with the Democrat colleagues too, but I think that that clearly there are some votes that, need to be taken, and we need the numbers to take them, that will protect our North Country regions. And, they're not in line, particularly on corrections issues. They are not in line with those south of the Tappan Zee Bridge.
What do you think about Billy Jones as a Democrat, though? You know, he's a corrections officer himself.
I'm not gonna comment about Mr. Jones.
Can you talk?
I've worked with him for years, we get along well. I'm clearly gonna be working for his opponent, assuming we have a good candidate, and I expect we will.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of education and your role in education and some of the funding that's been going on over the last 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, for finally this year, we got additional funding. We got rid of the gap elimination fund, debacle that we had for so many years because of Governor Patterson. And we did increase foundation aid, obviously not as much as our schools would like, but many of our schools are able to return to some of the places where they were before. They're putting on new staff, adding some programs back in. You know, I hope that at some point we get where people understand the difference between Common Core and standardized testing. They are two different animals, and I think we need to continue to address Common Core. We need to continue to protect. We have wonderful teachers in the North Country. You know, again, so often, the schools that are in problems are in the major cities, the big five, and the New York City schools, and we all get lumped in together. It's like everything else, and it shouldn't be. You know, I'm in all our schools. I talk with the teachers, and I know their passion, their compassion. Watching some of our students, it's just fascinating. We're in good hands. You know, a week ago, I attended the top 10% academic awards that the Clinton County School Boards put on. It's my 10th time being there. Every year I walk away from there saying, we are in really good hands with this next generation. Now, I will add, it was a little special this year because my granddaughter Lacey was one of those students, but the whole group of them, they're just incredible. And I'll be in Lake Placid the first part of June to address the Franklin, Essex, and Hamilton County group. And I have a lot of confidence in our next generation. I'm not one of the naysayers. And I think it's because we have such an outstanding public education system.
Seems, can I just follow up? It seems like the regions have actually been trying to find a way to move forward a little bit as well. It's gonna be a slow process, but it's something that you could probably participate in.
I will be participating in it right up to December 31st, and I hope after that. You know, I will be available. I've sat in, I'm not a member of the Education Committee, but I've been called in several times and asked to meet with members of that committee to talk about the North Country, because again, they're New York City centric. And to Assemblywoman Kathy Nolan's credit, she said to me, how would this affect your district? What does this mean for the North Country? So, yeah, I think that we're turning the ship. The new Board of Regents are a breath of fresh air, and I think we're gonna see some significant progress over the next 2 or 3 years.
Janet, any inkling at all as to when the Inspector General's report might be done?
No, and I talked with the Department of Corrections yesterday, and they don't know either. You know, we cannot envision any reason why it has not already been released. And we're hoping for any day now. You know, we know it's gonna be a year in just, what, 3 weeks? It's time. Is that it? I do thank everybody for coming. We do have written copies of my remarks for everybody, so please make sure you take one when you leave. And thank you again, all of you, for your support, for being here today. I know some of you traveled a ways to get here, and special thanks and love to my family and my